was unclear now is clear. Because the world, the universe, and truth are far bigger than the thoughts that you and I have accepted. It's not what you do, it's who you are. This moment right now is the single most important and beautiful moment of our life. Be in this moment, play in this moment, have this moment, live this moment. Want what's happening now. We begin to see that life is not so serious, that we're here to enjoy this experience of life through the tears, through the sadness, and through the fears. Every stream in life, every experience of life is leading me to the ocean of my existence. It's awesome stuff to live.
Oh, Buddha!
We don't need to do anything. There is no place else to be but where we are. Welcome to Aspire. I want to talk to you about a very, very delicate situation in our life, about our spirituality. Please understand, when I talk about spirituality, I am not talking about religion or philosophy. That I leave to the pundits, the scholars, the priests, and the ministers. What I'm trying to talk about with you is an unseen spirituality that affects every one of us. It is the way we touch life. And one of the ways in which we touch life and life tries to touch us is through the aspect of children. But children are not just little people. They are metaphors for a certain quality of life that lives within us that allows us to be touched and moved by the very essence of love, that which is God. And if you understand the nature of the child that lives in you and the nature of children that live in you, you will find an unseen world that you had never experienced before. It is by no accident that this is the basic principle, the basic way in which you enter into yourself and the way I enter into myself. Even Jesus, 2,000 years ago, said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me, for only such as these can enter into the kingdom of heaven." Did you hear that? Adults are not allowed. Why? Well, in our effort to be good at survival, good at getting what it is that we want, we have lost our innocence. That simple, innate ability to really feel and then follow our feelings with spontaneity and compassion. We've become so good at survival, so cunning at survival, that we don't really even know what we're all about. If I ask you, for instance, who are you? Who do you say you are? You will probably give me a name. Some name that was given to you by your parents, some name that was given to you by someone who just really wanted you to be like them, to fit into the society, to fit into this world in some way and earn a living and survive. The child in you, that is that unseen spirituality that all of us possess inside, could care less about that aspect of our life. Rather, that child in all of us seeks to understand the very nature and the secrets of life, the very mystery of love, and offers to us the opportunity to enter into that mystery beyond logic and reasoning and philosophy and religion. These things aren't serving us very well, religion, philosophy. So the child in us brings us to that mystical union within us where life and ourselves meet and touch. If you look into a baby's eyes, you see so much, and yet so little. They have no hope for the future, and they're not wrangling with their past. They live in this now moment, clear, simple, and mystical. And for some strange reason, when I look into the eyes of a child, I often realize they know much more than I do. It's interesting what brings out the child in us, isn't it? Sea lions like this make us very playful. And some part of us really gravitates toward playfulness. And where did that go in our life? A part of understanding the very nature of ourselves is understanding the child in us that wants to play, that wants to be playful with the mystical side and the mystical union of our life that we totally forget due to the fact of being such serious adults. We forget what it's like to be innocent again and to enjoy the beauty of just sitting in the sun and enjoying life a little bit. You know, the child, such an interesting aspect of us. My relationship with children is exactly my relationship with God. Absolutely, 100%. Think of it for a moment. A child is spontaneous, illogical, and constantly impractical. Isn't that what God is, so to speak? You never know what's going to happen. Totally spontaneous. Life is spontaneous. It doesn't work on any set plan. Only you and I are trying to plan it. And isn't the most frustrating aspect of a child trying to raise the child to be practical when its nature is not to be practical? To teach it to be planned when it is spontaneous? And isn't that the way life is? Spontaneous. At any given moment, life can happen. And at any given moment, death can happen. The child in us is the flexible, innocent one that's willing to go to love with no idea of right and wrong, good and bad, has no idea of future and past, but strictly lives off of the very essence of the feel of itself. Children live off their feel. They don't live off their mind until we teach them how to live off their minds. And from that point, they start becoming more and more like us, and we start teaching them to be proud of themselves, and then sooner or later, we start to lose it. We start to lose that innocent touch and that ability to be creative in our innocence. And it really upsets people because they know something is being lost, and yet they don't know quite what it is. Kids playing, enjoying themselves. Do you think they have a plan for life? Do you think they're looking at this at what a foolish thing this is, and could you see adults doing this? I think not. And why? Because they don't care what anybody thinks. They enter into the spontaneity of the moment and the mystery of life. Every time I look at the ocean, I cannot help but think of children. The vastness of the ocean is so interesting to me, just like the vastness of a child's consciousness, the child in us. It's unpredictable, it's always moving and changing. You can never tell what's going to happen. It swirls with currents. No wonder Lao Tzu called life the Tao, the watercourse way. Very much so like a child. Children are more than just little people. There's a child in us that allows us to connect to life. This child is not about age, time, space. It's ageless, timeless, and spaceless. It's a place in you, a presence in you that allows you and I to connect to God. Without it, without innocence, we can't connect. What has happened to us is we've become far too shrewd and cunning as individuals. We've out-talked ourselves. Think about God for a moment. We've made a law, principle, a man out of God. We haven't even allowed God to be what God is. We've written books about God, but if you look in a child's eyes, that's where you'll see God. And there's a certain look in your eye that's just like a child. If you look past your hopes, your beliefs, your fears, if you look past what you want, what you don't want, you will find God inside yourself. But it's not found as a philosophy, it's found as a feel. You can't think about God, you must feel God. Most people can't grasp that at all. It's too hard for them. It would require them to give up everything in a lifetime that they've worked so hard to develop. Mind, emotion, passion, thought. So much so that it's easier for us to think of ourselves as an analytical person than it is to think of ourselves and drop our mind in an analytical way and feel ourselves as a spiritual person. This is why children annoy us so. They do. They annoy us in a certain way because we can't control them. We can't second guess them. We have to feel them. You can only feel a child. You can't think about a child. And if you feel the child on the inside, then you get it. The child knows God, but doesn't need to talk about it, doesn't need to philosophize about it, doesn't need to make a big deal about it. They feel God in the sun, in the ocean, in themselves, and in you. I remember once when I saw God as a child. It was on a bank. And as I looked at the bank, I said to my mother, it was very small, "Mommy, see God, see God." It so upset her that I saw God in those flowers that she thought I had gone insane. And that's what we do with children. We make them insane so they can be just like us, and we forget what real sanity is all about. So if children are the relationship we are having with God, how are you doing? I'll bet most people watching this program don't even think very much about children except their future, our responsibility towards them, etc., etc. All the conventional ideas that people have about children. But children denote far more than that. They denote a playfulness in life that you and I have forgotten and given up for the idea of becoming successful and powerful and super perfect people. I am annoyed by this in us. As a culture and as a people, we have lost what it is that makes us playful. We've lost what it is that makes our life beautiful. Children remind us of this. As an adult, if you've ever had a child around you for any amount of time, do you ever find yourself getting just a wee bit jealous that they can go off and be so irresponsible whenever they want and go play while you're stuck home doing the dishes, mowing the lawn, and doing all the things that, quote, reasonable adults do? There's some part of us that screams to come out and play, and yet we don't allow ourselves to do it. Why? Because we've lost one of the most essential qualities in life, the spirit of the child in us, which brings us right into the mystery of life and into the mystery of love. We've become so serious in our culture. I say seriousness is the disease of the mind and removes us from the playfulness and the love of life. So I'd like to share with you some things that you can do to recreate your spirituality again. And please, again, understand, to me, spirituality is not metaphysical philosophies, not religious insights, not anything tremendously profound. When Jesus said that children were the only ones allowed in the kingdom of heaven, do you think that everybody sat around and went, "Oh, what does that mean? That's so profound"? I don't think so. They listened to that and said, "What the heck is this man talking about?" Just like you wonder what I'm talking about. But for those of you who have entered into the mystery of yourself, you know what I mean. I want to give you some ideas as to how to enter into that very mystical part of yourself and regain the child in you, not as a little person, but as a person that allows us to enter into love like we've never entered into it before. So here are some how-tos to allow yourself to go back into your spiritual process. You need to make a decision though. Do you want to work on yourself on a spiritual way, or do you want to become rich, famous, and powerful? Now, this is the problem that most people have. When people try to do this inner work so they can improve themselves to be more glamorous or more rich or more powerful, that doesn't work. If you look at a child, they're not interested in becoming rich or powerful. They're simply interested in playfulness. Inside of you, there is a part of you that is not aggressive, that is not ambitious, that can simply play and move with their spiritual process, meditate, sit silently, without ever thinking about what the results are going to be. That is where you want to work with yourself. You want to work with that part of yourself that is not looking for ambitious spiritual pride, as I like to call it, knowledge. You will find that part of yourself if you live very soft inside. Children teach us about our relationship with God, and when we can't relate to a child because they are so simple, because they're so non-aggressive, because they are so innocent, they look so vulnerable to us, then it shows that we are not having a relationship with the very essence of life. I can look at this beautiful scene here from my human, analytical adult side and see the scientific reason for the ocean being here. But if I look at it from the inner point of view of my child, that innocent point of view, I'm not worried about the scientific aspect of it. I look at it for the sheer joy of it, the sheer beauty of it, for what it really is in essence. And I don't care about the scientific value of it. I care only about its playfulness. Life is playful. And one of the great signs that we have lost our spirituality is when we've lost how to play within ourselves and play with the mystery of our living. You know, when you say to an adult, let's go play, what is the idea that most adults have about play? It's always something that they have to do that's competitive. Play tennis, play golf, play baseball, go bowling. These are the things that people call playing. But if you ask a child to play, they can take all these tide pools and make this their playground. It doesn't matter where they are. Their imagination, the feel of themselves can take them wherever they need to be. That's what you and I have to regain in our spiritual practice, in our meditation time, in our silence. Regaining that playful child in us that allows us to make everything a playground. We are far too competitive to know what our inner child is all about. The childlike attitude that allows us to enter into the very mystery that is God and into life. We are so competitive with our play that we can't do anything, even in our spiritual work. My students would say to me things like, well, are they meditating better than I'm meditating? Am I meditating right? Everybody's looking for results in their meditation. Like people are looking for results in winning and their playing. This has nothing at all to do with play. Real playing is doing those things that bring about creativity and happiness and love in our life in a way that brings about meaning and feeling. I'm playing with you right now. I'm having a ball. I'm here at the tide pools. Whether you understand this discourse or not, the meaning of what I'm saying is not important. It's the playfulness that's behind this that makes it so important. And there will be some people who will get that playfulness, and there will be some people who won't. Playfulness is an integral part of our spirituality, and you want to make play the most important part of your meditation too, because once again, seriousness is the disease of the mind. Have you ever wondered how you ever got so narrow-minded? You know, children are very broad-minded. They can accept everything and they work with everything to the best of their ability to open up to things, to really feel things. We as adults get very narrow. We get narrow because we want too much. We want more and more and more, and we get so pent up in our wanting and so caught up in our wanting and in our image and what other people think about us that we forget what it's like to be open. A child can run around in the fields of life, even down at the beach, naked and never be self-conscious about themselves. You and I are worried about how our hair is. We're worried about the wrinkles on our face, the color of our nails, how much money we have, and what other people are thinking of us. That's how we get narrow. It's called desire. The V word. This is the big one. If we're going to drop desire, we've got to be vulnerable. Vulnerable to that part of ourselves that we consider to be our great weakness, which is not having what it is that we think we should. Stuff, money, prestige, power. The child is only interested in playing. We get so narrow in our thoughts and in our attitudes that we forget what it's really like to be open to life, so open that we can explore it through our feelings rather than just our thoughts and our mind. So let's talk about this idea of vulnerability. What does it mean? It simply means that when we have entered into our child, we enter into playfulness with a spontaneity. We allow sadness to happen, we allow laughter to happen, we allow it all to move together. We don't try to make logic and reasoning out of the two. Interesting, I was watching some children play the other day. Two brothers, and one brother knocked the other one down. The little one that got knocked down fell down and suddenly realized he was hurt. So what does he do? He starts to cry. Then suddenly he realizes after his crying for a few seconds it doesn't hurt anymore, and he starts realizing how funny the situation was, and he started laughing. In that moment there was such spontaneity, first crying, then laughing. That's what it means to be vulnerable. Children feel their feelings. They don't analyze, am I hurt, should I cry, was I embarrassed? None of that. They feel what's going on in their life and they live with it. That's what I want you to do with your spirituality. Feel what's going on and live with it. Be with it. Be as the little child that is allowed to enter into the kingdom of heaven. And never, never, never forsake the spirit of your life for desire and ambition. It's just not worth it. If you do, you'll lose the very center of your life and the sense of your life. Try to live always in the spirituality of you, the nonsensical part. It will bring you tremendous insight and beauty. I want to thank you for allowing me to share with you these ideas on the child that lives within us and our spirituality. I hope in some way they help you. Namaste. What was unclear now is clear, because the world, the universe, and truth are far bigger than the thoughts that you and I have accepted. It's not what you do, it's who you are. This moment right now is the single most important and beautiful moment of our life. Be in this moment, play in this moment, have this moment, live this moment. Want what's happening now. We begin to see that life is not so serious, that we're here to enjoy this experience of life through the tears, through the sadness, and through the fears. Every stream in life, every experience of life is leading me to the ocean of my existence. It's awesome stuff to live.
Oh, Buddha!
We don't need to do anything. There is no place else to be but where we are.
To order a VHS copy of this program, please write to us or call 1-800-ASPIRE-2.